Every spring, many beekeepers rush out on the first warm day and do a time-honored tradition. They swap boxes. They take the deep box on the top and they put it on the bottom, and the bottom box and they put it on the top. But what if I told you that in some cases, you actually might be doing more harm than good in your colonies? It may not be the best for every hive. And while it's not necessarily wrong to do it, let's get a little bit behind the scenes today and look at reasons why you may or may not want to swap your boxes in springtime. Hi, my name is Ray. I'm a certified master beekeeper. I want to talk today about swapping boxes. We all know what happens. Let's take a look at it in my demo hive. So if your hive is like this coming out of winter, and you've got two deep boxes and you open it up at the beginning of the spring season, you're going to notice that your bees in large part have moved to the top of this top box. Bees tend to migrate north for a couple of reasons. Usually this is where the honey is stored, and then heat rises, and so as the heat gets trapped against that inner cover at the top, it makes a really nice place for the bees to snuggle in for the cool winter months. And then the queen starts to lay, and so she starts to fill up this top box. A lot of beekeepers take this box that is full of brood and bees and move it to the bottom and swap boxes. And there are definitely some pros to this, and there are definitely some cons to this. So let's talk about it today and what actually happens inside of our hives when we do this. As the heat rises and the bees move up, what it basically leaves is a cold attic in the bottom of the hive. A cold basement, not a cold attic. I don't know how you were growing up, but we had one of those cold attics in my house growing up, and you really didn't want to be down there for any length of time unless you really had a reason to be down there, because it's just kind of cold and abandoned. Plus, on top of that, most of our drafts are going to be coming in through the front entrance of the hive, which is another reason in winter why the bees kind of move away from that area and cluster here near the top. The problem is that creates for the queen and the cluster this false ceiling, like we are packed out to the gills because we are packed all the way to the top of the hive. And so that creates a choice for us as beekeepers. Do we do something in order to help with reducing the swarming instinct, or do we just leave these boxes the way they are? So there's a couple of reasons, a couple of pros for why we might want to do this. As I already mentioned in the introduction, this can be one way that we can reduce swarming by giving the bees this feeling like, oh, there's this warm space, because that heat rises from the cluster up, gives the bees this warm space up here at the top after we swap the boxes. We put the bees in the bottom, the heat rises. This creates a warm attic as opposed to a cold basement for the bees. And since the cluster is still accustomed to being toward the top of your beehive, your bee colony, this creates an expansion area for the queen to continue to lay up above where the new brood box would be at the bottom. But there's one thing that we need to look out for when we talk about swapping brood boxes. So for all the benefits, there's a couple of things we need to really be careful of, and this is the primary one. If this particular area is filled with brood and then just some brood here on the bottom, and if I swap these boxes, what do I actually do? I now have created this cold zone here in between. Whoops, sorry, my inner cover does not belong here. Let's put it up here. I now have created a cold zone in between the brood nest. So as you might know, the brood nest needs to stay at around 93, 95 degrees. And in order for the bees to do that, they have to cluster around that brood. And that's how they keep that brood warm. If we swap boxes too early in spring, we create this zone here where I'm going to have a cluster of bees here and a cluster of bees up here. Neither of them probably are going to be sufficient in order to keep the brood as warm as it actually needs to be. And so this is the danger of just mindlessly swapping boxes without paying attention to what might be in the bottom box versus the top box. Now, if all of your brood is in the top box, like this, and you move it down to the bottom, that's fine, because the cluster will remain here, and then this will give this warming area up here in the attic for the queen to continue to lay. But you have to be careful about breaking that cluster apart. So let's walk through this little chart here. We inspect the hive. If the cluster is entirely in the top box, then we can say, yes, it is safe for us to go ahead and reverse the boxes. If the brood is present in both the top box and the bottom box, then we need to be really cautious. Now, if we're later in spring and the temperatures are consistently warm, you're probably going to be fine. That's kind of the concept behind the Damari method anyway. But if it's still going to have some cold winter nights or late winter snow or something like that, we need to really be careful because we can risk chilled brood. And so we need to do a different method instead in order to accomplish the same goal, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. If your colony is just plain weak, like under 4 frames of bees coming out of winter, then what we really want to do is not really reverse the boxes. We just really want to remove a box and let them really build up in that solid box, in the one box that they have in the bottom. And once they get that filled, then move them up to adding another box on top. So that's kind of the assessment flow chart here that I'm showing you on the screen. So if you're considering swapping your brood boxes this year, you probably want to avoid arbitrary dates and really just pay attention to the condition of the weather and the condition of your colony. Let those be the determining factors instead of just going out and saying, okay, I'm just going to do this. Again, there's nothing wrong with doing it. It's not a bad practice to do, but you just need to be careful about doing it too early, especially if you live in northern climates where it's a little bit chilly still in March. So what if you find that your top box is full, but some of your brood is moved into the bottom box? Well, you can do something that's called chimneying or pyramiding. Pyramiding is basically where you take your brood frames and you put them in the center of both the bottom and the box above it, basically creating a pyramid so that the hive can still cluster around the brood without it being separated. The concept here with pyramiding is that if you just take a congested box and move it from the top to the bottom, it's still congested. So by rearranging the brood in a vertical pyramid, it relieves the congestion in both boxes. There is a difference between reversing boxes and supering. Reversing boxes or swapping boxes is to give a spatial reset for the beehive, to create that extra additional space to try to build up that brood nest. Supering adds new space on top of the beehive, and so that as this population begins to hatch and explode as it comes time for spring, you're going to have this additional space up there in order to help with the brood nest to prevent them from swarming, or at least reduce the impulse of swarming, because they feel like they continue to have this room on top of the hive where they can expand and grow. The bottom line with reversing your boxes is, even though a lot of beekeepers do it, it's really a tool that you can use, but it's not a rule that you have to do it. So if you're a newer beekeeper and you're just trying to figure all of this out, you're like, oh no, what if I don't do it or whatever? Like, the bees will move down. Think about them in their natural environment when they're perhaps inside of a hollow tree. They continue to build downward, downward, downward. And yes, they still might move up inside of that tree over the course of the winter time, but then as spring comes, they continue to build that comb downward. So biologically, it's not necessarily a requirement. Your bees will move down into that bottom box, but there's always a chance that if you don't do it and they feel that top ceiling above them, that it can cause them to desire to swarm, which is something that most beekeepers try to prevent in order to maximize their honey production. So let's review a little bit of a spring checklist together. So when can we do this? Well, when our weather is consistently warm, meaning at least above freezing at nighttime. The bottom box is mostly empty of brood or bees. The colony is strong enough to defend the space and to warm the space. In other words, it's just not a super weak colony. And we also don't have any swarm cells present. If we already have swarm cells present, then it's too late to consider doing it. We want to be cautious about swapping boxes under these conditions. If the brood nest straddles both the upper and the lower box, we want to be careful of that. If the colony is too weak or too small, then we don't want to bother to swap boxes. There's not going to be much advantage to that. And if the forecast is predicting that we're going to still have some freezing temperatures, which is going to make it difficult for the colony to be able to warm the whole brood cluster, then we want to be careful of that as well. If you don't know what to do, then it's okay to leave it. The bees will still be able to handle it okay. Just keep an eye out for those swarm cells as spring heads our way. Hi, this is Ray. When you hit like, subscribe, or leave a comment, it really helps me to build my channel. So thank you so much. Are you thinking about starting beekeeping? Don't let the sting of a bad first year ruin your whole experience. Hi, my name is Ray. I'm a certified master beekeeper, and I put together a video course that I call Ray's Ultimate Beginner's Beekeeping Course. In it, I go over so many of the essential things that you need to be successful and honestly, to make your first year of beekeeping really sweet. Did you see what I did there? We go over all of the basics that you need to know to be successful in your beekeeping journey. How to buy equipment, how to buy bees, how to set up your hive, where to set up your hive, various types of hives, bee biology, nutritional needs of your hives, dealing with different pests that are going to wreak havoc or try to destroy your hive in the first year, and so much more. As a matter of fact, my bee course has over 40 lessons, as well as a bunch of bonus material that I've added on to some of the lessons to give you a thorough education. It is a complete guide to try to lay a good foundation of beekeeping so that you're not just learning through a random rabbit trail of YouTube videos. It's organized, it's comprehensive, and it will give you a reference to be able to go back to time and time again when you have questions. My goal is to give you confidence in your beekeeping journey. You'll know what you're looking at when you're inside your hive, you'll know how to tackle some of the common problems, and most of all, I'm going to address how to avoid the major mistakes that I see beginning beekeepers make over and over and over again, which leads ultimately to them being discouraged, their hives being lost, and them quitting. Statistics show that 80% of beekeepers that get started quit in the first 2 years. And most of that is because they just make these same mistakes over and over again. So let's stop the guesswork. Let's approach our beekeeping with confidence. And you can do so today by getting started. Head over to my website at www.honeytopbees.com and check out my Ultimate Beekeeping course and use my name, Ray, at checkout for a generous discount off of the list price. I'll see you over there. God bless.